Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is another one of these multi-talented people. He is a web application designer at Stubbs, Stubbsonic Design, and he's also a drummer at Rat Silo, which is cool. He studied Internet Information Systems at the University of Liverpool. Time to meet Sean Stubbs. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
Oh, and I'm happy that you're here. Yeah, that's really great. So what is a web application developer? What exactly is that?
Well, I that's someone who makes websites.
Oh,
So web designer and developer. I actually most of the time these days, I'm teaching that kind of stuff.
oh, nice.
Right. Yeah, I still do some web design and development on the side, but most of the time I'm teaching. I'm kind of a full-time instructor now.
Oh, so is that virtual or do you have a classroom situation?
Well, it was a classroom situation up until, about 2 years ago. And then the school I teach at, the Visual College of Art and Design, VCAD in Vancouver here, we went virtual, or, we call it hybrid now because we've got some people in the classroom and then some people virtual. So we went pretty much virtual for 2 years up until, I guess, about 3 months ago, I guess. And then we went to this kind of hybrid thing where I have some people in the classroom and some people we use Teams in the classroom. So,
Okay.
so a little bit of both right now. So.
Well, that's pretty cool though, that you can, I'm assuming it's like on Zoom, right?
Well, we started out using Zoom like we're using here, and then we switched over to something called Teams, which is pretty good for educational purposes.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's called Microsoft Teams, and they use it in schools and things like that. So, but it has video conferencing just like Zoom. I like Zoom better, but yeah.
Now you said it says here that you studied at the University of Liverpool.
I did. I actually, when I got into doing interactive media, right? So websites and all things visual design. I went to Cap University and I took a program up there years ago called the Infotech program. And then I eventually went to get a master's degree in internet systems, mainly because I had already started teaching. So because of the schools I was teaching at, they wanted to go degree granting, which means we want to give bachelor's degrees to students. So I had to go back and get a master's degree. So I did that through the University of Liverpool, but that was also online.
Okay.
So my instructors were all over the world. My dissertation advisor was in Israel. So, nice. I worked with her for a few months to work on my final dissertation. So that was through the University of Liverpool. They do that kind of thing there, especially with technology-based degrees. So yeah.
Awesome. So what was it about the internet that you wanted to get into?
Well, I've been a musician since I was a teenager, and I still am. And I just was really attracted to it way back. I had a friend of mine now. He's a video director, but he showed me the internet somewhere about 1990. He had these computers set up and I knew we were doing kind of doing visual design and graphic design on computers at that point. So, office applications and things, but I didn't really know what the internet was. And my friend, Adam, P.W. Smith, great video director, great cameraman. He was really into this and he had a bunch of computers hooked up by telephone, right through the phone lines back in about 1990. And he showed me this and I'm like, so you got all these computers connected. What are you doing with them? And he said, well, I'm talking to other people around the world. It was very, very primitive back then. So he showed me a few things and I thought, as a musician, as someone who was interested in music, I thought this would be a great way to communicate to everyone out there. We take it for granted now.
Yeah.
So that's what started my interest in it. But I wasn't really, I was doing electronic music at the time, but I wouldn't really consider myself much of a techie. I could program a synth and program a drum machine and that kind of thing. So it took a while for me to kind of come around and understand it. But after I started doing music with game designers, I started composing some music for some of the smaller game design companies around town when they started getting going. I started talking to programmers and game designers, and they let me in on, the secrets. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how that works. So that led me to an interest in, in the all things web, the internet, and the connectivity that we kind of take for granted now these days, right? So the interest goes back a few years, but it took me a long time to, get my mind around the whole thing. Definitely,
I'm still learning, and I'm still there's so much of it I don't understand.
You never stop learning. You never stop
learning. No, well, as a matter of fact, one of my great nephews was just talking about, is it Petron? He suggested I put my show on there rather than just on YouTube. I'm not sure if I had the right name, and it's like I'm going through it, and it's like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Patreon. Yeah. A lot of artists like it, right? Because people could subscribe, and you've got this kind of revenue stream. There's so many different platforms now for this, and especially in the music business, we're sort of discovering all these new ways of getting our music out there and promoting our music and distributing it, and every day I'm discovering new little platforms that have kind of popped up, and have to try and figure out, how does this work? Is it part of it is like this other thing that I know, but this other part I don't really understand. It takes me a long time. It never ends. Never ends.
Well, unfortunately, for some of us seniors, it's just like, I have no clue. So anyway, let's switch to your music. Now, are you a singer? Do you play an instrument? Both?
I'm a drummer mainly. Drums are my main instrument.
All right.
Yeah, been playing drums for, most of my life, since I was about 11, 12, when I first, got a snare drum and started banging away, trying to play, Kiss songs on one drum.
Right.
So anyway, and then that led me to there was a pretty healthy punk rock scene here in Vancouver back when I was that age, when I was very young and impressionable. So I really got interested in that pretty early on, formed a band with some of my friends in high school. So I wanted to be a guitar player, and I still do play some guitar, but I'm not a guitar player. I'm a drummer who plays guitar. So I like to write on guitar and play guitar, but I'm very, very rudimentary guitar player, because I've always been surrounded by great guitar players in my life. So I play a little guitar, a little bass, keyboards, but drums, even sang, was a lead singer for a while in a band, more of a lead screamer more than anything. But drums is really my main instrument.
Okay. Now I have a question. Why is the drum player usually at the back of the stage, like behind it?
I think because we've got the most stuff around us, and the other guys in the band want to just push us out of the way. I think, it could be a traditional thing, the way bands used to set up in the old days before amplification, where the drummer was kind of at behind the rest of the band. We could go back to the big band era, and it was just so everybody in the band could hear the drummer. So if they were kind of behind everybody back there, everybody could just feel that beat coming from behind. So I think it's more of a tradition with going way back to old big band music. And then rock band, jazz bands. Rock bands were just kind of new versions of jazz bands. So there's always that tradition. I've tried to set the drums up in other areas of the stage, but to be honest, unless you have a purpose-built stage, a lot of stages in clubs and that kind of stuff, it's just kind of the standard place to put the drum kit, right? Yeah. And you get the guitar, but the drummers don't have to walk around, right?
That's
so
true.
We back there. So the guitar players, the bass players, they need to walk around and work the crowd and do what they do, walk over and hit their pedals and play with the knobs on their amplifiers. So drummers tend to kind of set up. You got your little station back there. It's like being a little a pilot, or you're kind of a tank commander back there with all your drums around. And once you set the drums up on the stage, everyone else seems to set themselves up around the drums. The drums is kind of the central place for rock bands anyway.
Right. Yeah. No, I've heard more than one time that drummers just are different, that they march to their own beat, sort of,
so to speak. Yeah.
Right? Do you feel that way?
I would agree. I don't know if I'm a good example of that, but the drummers that I know, Yeah, I wouldn't say all of them. Some of them are very responsible, level-headed, normal people. But if there's a crazy one in the band, it's usually going to be the drummer. Yeah,
I like that.
yeah, yeah.
So is it rock that you mostly perform?
Mainly, I've done a lot of styles, but when I first started playing as a young kid, it was it was kind of classic 70s rock, I guess, that I liked it, couldn't understand how to play a lot of it. And it wasn't until punk rock came around that I was like, okay, I understand this now, Sex Pistols and the Ramones. Aha, I can understand this. So that's really what started me. And, with music changing in the early 80s, it led off into all kinds of other different styles. And because of technology, I got into electronic music as well. So I've done lots of different things,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But I guess, they call it alternative music now, I guess. So,
I don't know. So they have to make up words all the time for stuff, right?
Yeah.
So now, assuming you have children, do they perform?
They'll perform for us a lot. Yeah, I have two daughters, and I don't know if they're going to be performers. My oldest one, she really loves dance, and she's in a sort of concentrated dance program right here at Gladstone Secondary in East Vancouver. They've got a really good what they call a mini school. So yeah, she's into dance. They like music, but I don't know. They haven't really shown any kind of interest in really wanting to take it serious. So they're into gymnastics and dance and and I don't know, just being kids,
Yeah. But the dance, he needs the music, right?
Yeah. They've done some singing lessons and things like that. So I think performing is something they just kind of naturally do, but I don't know if they kind of look at it as a as a profession or not. It's just something they're in a kind of a creative household, I think. So it just sort of seems what everybody does. Everybody puts on a show all the time. So but they're pretty talented creative kids though, for sure.
That's nice. Yeah. Now we connected through a mutual friend.
Yeah.
Right, Pat, and
our buddy Pat Axe. Yep.
I just want to say thank you, Pat, for suggesting that you and I connect. So I always appreciate stuff like that. I'm certainly interested in your story. I just love it. The fact that you've been drumming or into music for such an early age, because it doesn't happen for everybody, right?
No, I mean, well, it depends what you want out of it. I mean, I teach a course over at Langara College, a university, I guess, and it's it's a music production program. But they bring me in, and we talk about, okay, once you've got your music up and going, and you've learned how to record your songs, and you've learned become a better songwriter, what do you do?
Yeah.
And starting out in the punk rock scene years and years ago, we were all very independently minded. DIY was just, it was kind of necessity. We had to kind of do that kind of thing because there were, that kind of music hadn't gone mainstream yet. So we sort of learned to just kind of do it on our own. So we had a different kind of definition of what success was. When you say success, what does that mean to someone? Everyone has their own definition of success. So it depends, right? Is it sort of monetary success? Is something that material success? Is it, getting to perform in a particular, we have goals, I guess is what I'm saying, different goals and different ways of getting there. So I think for everyone, especially artists and creative people, but anybody, you have to define those goals and what it means to be successful. I know some very successful people, and what happens is when they became successful, then they were like, well, okay, I've done that. What do I do next? Right? They wanted to keep going. They had to reinvent their goals. So when we say, whether or not somebody is making it or not, that's really hard to define because it's just up to the individual. Everyone has their own kind of definition of what that could be. A lot of financially successful people who are in the music industry that really don't enjoy the work a lot of the time. They because of the financial aspect of it, they have to kind of keep bringing in a certain amount of money, and so they have to go do things for financial purposes rather than really wanting to do those things. So it can kind of be a trap. really, this sort of that. So if you're talking about financial success.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's, you get to do what you like to do when you want to do it. I think that's, that's the key. Can you keep on going and pay your bills? Using, if you're a creative person, using your creative skills in order to earn a living.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's up to each individual to decide what that means, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have you been with, was it Rat Silo? Love the name.
That Silo started out as a studio project back in 2007 with an old friend of mine, Jim Newton. And Jim Newton used to be in a band called Sons of Freedom back in, some people from around this part of the world, right, remember them from the late 80s, early 90s. They were great, amazing band. So I was pretty good chums with those guys. We were all kind of in the same scene back then. Anyway, Jim moved away from Vancouver. The band kind of split up. I stayed friends with him. And years later, Jim came back to Vancouver and wanted to start a new band. And I was always such a huge fan of him and his work and his band. So he said, listen, I'm going in the studio with some new songs and want to know if you want to play some drums on the songs. Got the old bass player, Don Binns from Sons of Freedom, and a couple other friends of ours, from the local scene. We'd all known each other for a while, some veterans. And we went in and did, I think it was just 5 songs with Jim in the studio. They were kind of his songs. And we had such a good time with it. We're like, well, this kind of feels like a band. We should definitely be a band. So that was in 2007. And we've just kind of, kept going from there. And had a couple of member changes over the years. We're down to a 4-piece now. We started out as a 5-piece. Okay. One of the guitar players and the original keyboard player. So Finn Manicky was our original guitar player. He's not playing with the band anymore, but we're still friends with him. He's an incredible musician. Has a sort of a Django Reinhardt tribute act that he does called Van Django. He's very good. Really amazing guitar player, and he plays cello as well. So he's a professional cellist. Very nice. And our good friend Dave Osborne was on keyboards originally. Dave, his brother Neil, has a band called 5440. So Dave plays in 5440 with his brother now, and works for Live Nation doing production, music production, or not music production, but event production.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're down to kind of a 4-piece now, and we just kind of kept on going. The Sons of Freedom kind of had a little period there for about 2 years, about 4 years ago, where they were trying to get that kind of band going again, but they just couldn't make it stick. So Jim came back and we picked up Rat Silo and kept going with it. So we're really enjoying it because we all really respect each other as players. I've been fans of those guys for, over 30 years. So it's pretty great to be in a unit with people that you were a fan of. Right. So they're not just friends, but you just are fans of them. So I feel pretty lucky to be able to get to play with Don and Jim.
I've said this before on other interviews. I'm saying it again, that so far every musician I met has been generous. What I mean with stage time and respecting each other. I just absolutely love that. I love hearing things like that.
Well, I hope so. I mean, you should be. I mean, I think it's like any kind of any work, but especially in music and in the arts. I think it's true of actors. You got to be, your professional reputation is really important. And I mean, I tell this to my students, if they're being graphic designers or web developers or whatever they're doing, you've got to be careful, because the people you're meeting on the way up are the people you're meeting on the way down. This is a down. Right. You're going to know, if you're going to be involved in an industry, you're going to know these people for decades. So you don't want to go out and just because of some short-sightedness, go out and make enemies right off the bat. So I think being generous with your time it just helps everybody. It just makes it better for everybody. So
for sure. Yeah.
Kind of looked at it that way, right?
I mean, you can think about having a big ego, but you don't have to.
I think you should be confident in your abilities. Okay. But having a big ego that's not the same as confidence. That's almost like you're trying to, it almost feels like you don't think you're as good as you are, but you're trying to put on a big show that you're better than you are. And that's the ego part. I think confidence is a whole different thing. And confidence just comes with experience and practice. And, just like anything, you know.
Very good. Yeah.
Music, or it comes from the same place.
Right.
So yeah, I think, you know, you need a lot of allies, especially when you're a creative person trying to make everybody's got to help everybody else, and everybody is going through the same thing, and you kind of got to pull together and help each other, right? And if you
there's
help someone else,
and there's room for everybody, right?
Yeah,
that's my thought too.
Respect all these other people that are doing the same thing as you.
Right.
It's just not constructive to go around, you know, elbowing people out of the way.
Do you also write music or songs? Sorry.
I do. Yeah, I do. I like to write around here, you know, mostly on the guitar, and I write some stuff here. A lot of that stuff lately just kind of finds its way into Rat Silo songs.
Okay.
But so I'll sit around with the guys, you know, they'll come in with song ideas, and I like to get on the guitar as well, and kind of learn how the song goes before I sit behind the drums. Because it helps me as the drummer knowing, okay, they're going to make the change here. They're going to this chord. It's going to go this many bars. So if I can sit there on the guitar and just sort of strum out the basic chord structure,
right,
it really helps me. So, you know, when I'm not working with them, I like to write my own stuff as well. And eventually, maybe I might put some stuff out. Just when I think I'm going to put some solo stuff out, I get together with the band guys and I think, oh my God, this is so amazing, because, you know, you've got all these great players in one room, and so it always ends up sounding better than things I'm doing by myself. I just like collaborating with other people.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have a website, by the way?
Well, I do. I have a couple of different websites for different things. I mean, we have the main website for the band, and I also kind of have a website that basically has to do with just web development. So it's really kind of an online experiment where I use it to experiment with web design, web development, and I use it for kind of my students.
Right.
So I have a bunch of different websites out there for different purposes, and lots of social media channels too. So it really kind of depends what I'm trying to communicate on the website. You know,
right.
What is it for? Is it for graphic design work, or is it for web development, web design, teaching? You know, is it for teaching, or is it for this music stuff that I'm doing? So usually I tell people, if you just type my name into Google, you can usually find all kinds of different things, because I'm doing all sorts of different things all the time.
And they can also find you on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all those. I mean, I've tried to step back from doing social media just for personal reasons. And it's more, I use social media to, you know, promote music or to something like that. Because I just find that, you know, oh my God, social media takes up so much of your time. That I just found it was getting in the way. I try. It's great to keep in touch with relatives and old friends and all that. I mean, I love that aspect, but you can really get sucked into this whole other world. And frankly, I haven't got time. That's not a good way for me to be spending my time doing that. But I like social media for the fact that you can communicate with a lot of people.
Yes.
Potentially. And so if you're promoting or marketing music or your art or whatever it is you're doing, you're a performer or any business. I mean, that's what I do. I build websites for businesses as well in order for them to promote their business.
Right, for sure.
Actually, we're helping Pat Axe right now do that, because Pat needs to get his stuff together. So I'm helping him on a new website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, I was just wondering, because when this airs, you know, people, if they want to get a hold of you, I can just say, well, we can just set it here, you know, can just.
Yeah, I mean, with the social media platforms there, even though you might not be posting things and putting pictures, they usually have a sort of a little messenger. I know with Instagram and Facebook and Messenger on there. So I'm usually easy to find. You know, LinkedIn, this website, LinkedIn is great. That's you know, instead of resumes now, you just look at people's LinkedIn page, and I can contact people through their LinkedIn page. So people do that with me a lot too. For sure. You know, so I'm pretty easy to
locate. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, we're going to end it on that note. It's been a pleasure. Just stay on camera. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed hearing about Sean Stubbs and about what he does, the band, and his web application developing. I have to remember all these words. I'm reading it actually on my tablet.
Yeah,
so because I haven't, I have memory problems. I'm older. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching the show. I hope you like it and share it and subscribe is always nice. And take care. Be nice, everybody. Just be nice because makes it for a better world. Peace out, everyone.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.